Oh, hey! I'm glad you're here. If you're listening to this at the time of the recording, quit eavesdropping. I'm kidding. It's the holiday time, so Merry Christmas. And if you're listening at any other time, then happy unbirthday. And if you're listening on Christmas and it's your birthday, then hello, Jesus. I don't know about that. The guest for this episode is Sean Jordan, a very funny stand-up and podcaster. He has a show in Seattle January 6th. If you're in or around that area, then go see Sean. He's a wonderful human being. Season 9 is finally taking shape here and will begin in the new year, so I'm really looking forward to those conversations. But this episode is dedicated to any and all of the newly dadded dudes. I'm a proud dad of a wonderfully wild child, and it can be a difficult transition, which should be talked about more. That was the inspiration for this episode, so don't expect too deep of a dive into our late return, which I could talk about in depth for hours, and hopefully I will in the next year. Not filling this episode with 100 samples was so difficult, but I showed restraint and we kept it cash. That's short for casual. All right. I am VHUS_podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Please find me. Tell me what you want for Christmas. I'm all ears. I'm Dirk Zaster on the PS5. Thank you everyone who's interacted with me online. It means so much to feel heard and that you were entertained. So sincerely, thank you. So, the guest is Sean Jordan, the film is Shogun Assassin, and this is VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns. Hello, and welcome to VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns, our casual conversation episode where we champion our current faves in entertainment before we take a late return to a lesser discussed gem. I'm your host, Dirk Marshall, and my guest for this episode is a comedian, a podcaster, an integral part of all fantasy everything, a father, a soon-to-be married playboy, a positive energy in this sometimes very dark world. His album is The Buck Starts Here. He's Sean S. Jordan on Twitter because his name's Sean Jordan. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. You should go tell every single comedian how to introduce somebody. Not like I need all that. That was amazing. But the amount of people that just
Oh my gosh.
don't know what they're doing, it's shocking. So thank you for being so thorough and well-spoken. Just flowed right out.
Well, thank you. There's nothing I like less. Well, that's not true. But in podcasting, when someone's just like, and my guest is this person, tell everyone about yourself. And it's like, oh, come on, do a little research, give them a little something.
It helps. It
Yeah.
definitely, I used to think when I was doing stand-up, I would tell people, the host, I would say, oh, it doesn't matter what you say, which is rude because now you're giving them an extra job. So at least give them something to say. But I used to think that nobody cared. And I still don't think they care. But you sit up a little more if you hear some things about somebody that pique your interest. You perk up and you go, okay, well, I'll listen. Instead of being like, they're from the Midwest. And then they come up.
Right. Well, in your profession too, it's like, what's the credit to bring somebody up? Did they got the 15 minutes? Did they have the 30? Was there an album? Were they on late? Give them the credit to bring them up.
Yep. Yes, sir. It's good to see you. It's been so long, way too long.
Yeah,
way too long.
It's so hard because in your profession, when you're doing a show or Ian comes to town, it's like I have this split feeling where it's like I want to see people, but also it's people doing their job. They're at work and I'm going to show up and be like, hey, give me some time. It's a tricky thing. So I oftentimes end up missing people's events and things. Also, we both have children, so there's that too. But yeah, it's great to see you.
Boy, do they take up. Again, the amount, I was so naive with all this, and I'm sure everybody is. I'm sure nobody goes in knowing what's up, but
No.
It cuts down your time completely in half if you're cool. If you're an asshole, it cuts your time down by like 10% because you just have your partner do everything. But somebody has to be looking at the kid all the time.
Yes.
All the time. Got to have eyes on the package all the time.
It's very true. And there's no way of knowing before you have the child what it's like. People can yammer on all day about all kinds of things, but until that shift happens in your life, you don't know. There's just no way of knowing.
I was a big yammerer. Laura called me out because before Max, I'd sit around and be like, these people with kids, they can't even find time to shower. I'd be like, take a fucking shower. Every day you should take a shower. And now at least once a month, I will look up and think, man, this is day 3.
Right.
No shower.
Yes.
It's not like you don't have the time, but you have to decide what you want to do with the time you have. And sometimes you have to just sit there and watch Modern Family for a half hour just to shut your brain off. Anyway, but it's super dope. It's amazing. I love it.
That's awesome. Now, I know professional podcasters like yourself are better at these segues to big questions, creating these emotional ladder rungs, which build up to a big concept, but I'm not that. So I'll just get right into the hugest personal question. It's very, very serious. Sean, how are you?
I'm good. I am good. I'm surprisingly not. The things I get stressed about are so nonsensical that I sit back and I'm like, what are you stressed about that for? I don't stress about the big things ever. And everything's working. Everything's working the way it should. Got a new crib, got the baby, getting married in May. It's the holidays. Laura's parents get here tonight.
Whoa.
So we have family Christmas. Also, we moved. We're about 8 blocks away from her brother now. So just the back and forth is so much easier with his kids and the parents and everything. We're like all in the same neighborhood. I'm stoked. We're going looking at Christmas lights on Monday night, I think. We're going to do the zoo lights.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that until I just said it.
Are you doing walkthrough or drive-through for zoo lights?
Walkthrough, I think.
Okay.
We got 2 different nights. Laura's sister-in-law was talking about it, but I think we're doing 2 nights.
Okay.
So as long as I get to go on one of them, I'm stoked.
Right. It's baby's first Christmas, so that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm like, she doesn't really give a fuck. It's more for us, but I'm stoked to see. I'm going to put her in some Christmas shit, try to get a tiny little Santa hat. We'll see what's going on.
That's awesome. And parenting, different for everyone always, but I'll just give you a little hint that I think is universal. First 4 years, they don't remember anything. They don't. I tried so hard the first 4 years, and then now I'm like showing her pictures. I'm like, remember when I did this? And she's like, nah, nothing. And I was like, okay, well,
yeah,
that's okay. Well, let's just dive right into new releases. Up first are things in print. Is there anything released that you're currently reading? I know you're not notoriously a reader.
I'm not notorious. I just got a new book called Cover Story, and I'm excited to read that. And also, I ordered Anatomy, a love story, which is Dana Schwartz's book that's coming out in a couple weeks. That, if I'm being honest, that will be my first full-on read in a while. I started reading a Jeopardy book. I cannot believe I'm spacing on her name. Our friend Claire McNair. There we go.
Is the name in the frame of a question?
Should be. I'll tell you what book that I did get through was Happiest Baby on the Block. Because fucking when your baby's screaming, it's a real page turner. They just like there's solutions in that book. So you find it real quick.
Yeah.
So Cover Story by Alex Wong. That's what I'm going to start pretty quick. It's just a book all about iconic magazine covers, and I'm here for it. We had him on the podcast, and we drafted.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'm stoked to start reading that.
Oh, fantastic. I don't have anything right now that I'm currently reading, but something that we read a lot in this house are a series of books from Hazy Dell Press, which is out of Portland. HazyDellPress.com is their website. It's cool kids books, like the hardback, all about monsters. So there's like ABC monsters. There's one about Sasquatch wanting to be naked all the time. Kids love them. There's one called Don't Eat Me Chupacabra, which is really good. My daughter, big fan. She's 8, and her whole life we've read her these fun, great illustrated kids books. So I highly recommend.
I'm excited to get into them as soon as Max starts paying attention.
Right.
I will be the first to admit I am not a strong reader in any way. So that means reading aloud. That means reading to myself. Yeah. And it's not self-deprecating. I'm really dope at a lot of stuff, but boy, if I don't struggle reading. So I like reading books to children because they're not hard for me to read.
Right.
I can just rip through them. Then I get done. I'm like, you can fucking read, bro.
You
wouldn't believe the amount of people that hit me up and they're like, hey, da-da-da, we can't read. Nothing wrong with that, but I can read. I am not a strong reader. So, I'm excited to work on it with my young daughter as she develops. We can develop at the same pace.
Are you going to be a reader that does voices when they read the books to their child?
I think so. I've always felt kind of dumb doing that, which people assume certain things, but I got the one gear. I can go on stage, and if something happens where I end up doing a voice, rarely does it happen, but it just feels natural. I have a tough time sitting with a kid and reading a book in a funny voice. I don't know why kids are so intimidating to me. I think having my own daughter will get me past that.
I think so.
But I don't know, because Laura has no problem doing it, but I'm sitting there like, well, or we could just read the book. I don't know if we do all that. Looking at the ground like anybody's going to judge you.
You're like, you want me to get some lights out and like mic this? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I think it's fun. I love it. But if I'm being honest, I don't do the voices yet with any of my nephews or anything.
Oh, yeah.
But I think a daughter, she'll pull it out of me.
Yeah, I never did until I had the daughter. And she asked me a couple times to step it back a bit. It's a little distracting, I think.
Dad, please. Trying to enjoy the book. You're taking away. It's not about you.
Yeah. The dragon doesn't have to sound like that. And I'm like, all right. I was just trying to throw some
What do you
spice
think a
in.
dragon sounds like?
It's always a gruff voice for me because I think the fire affects the vocal cords.
Sure, I get it.
Yeah.
My throat
Yep.
hurts.
There it is. Yeah, yeah. Always. Always.
I never
deeper.
thought about that. Of course it would affect the.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course you'd sound terrible. You'd sound like a smoker.
You know, she's 8. I overthought everything most of her life. I spent almost every night practicing a card trick for the first 4 years because I was like, I'm going to show her this card trick. It's going to blow her mind. Little known fact for children, magic is real. So when you show them magic, they're just like, yeah, dope. That's normal. I don't know why.
Mhm.
That's not. And I'm like, I just made that disappear. And she's like, yeah, of course. You can make candy come out of ears. You can do all kinds of stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, note taken. Yeah.
They haven't been ruined yet by
Yeah.
all the naysayers around the water cooler crushing all that. You know, I don't know why there's ever anybody in a hurry to talk about Santa or all the
Seriously.
myths. It's like, what are we doing? Why not let a kid believe that until they're 15?
Yeah.
Who cares? I don't see the big deal.
If anything, we need more magic and wonder in the world, I think.
After you watch a person go from 0 to fully pregnant giving birth, it's magic.
Yeah.
So it does make you believe in magic because it is fucking magic. Like, that's magic. That was a magic trick. You grew a human. That's magic to me.
Yeah, it is. It is wild. Which brings us to games. I don't even know if you play video games. Have you ever been a video game player?
Yeah, I don't game necessarily,
Yeah.
but I at one point, so when the King of Kong came out, you remember all the King
Yes.
of Kong.
Yeah.
So I emailed them and I asked what you had to do to get a documented world record because I checked their world record at Dr. Mario and then I sat at home one night and I beat it, but I didn't record it. So I emailed them
Right.
and it took me like 6 hours to beat it straight. And they said that to record it at that time, you had to do it on a video camera with VHS tapes. This was a while ago.
Mm.
And you could only have something crazy like no more than 60-second breaks at a time. I just couldn't do it. So I technically did beat the world record, but I never got it documented. So there's been games that I love, like Street Fighter 2, Dr.
Oh,
Mario,
yeah.
Mario Kart.
Mhm.
I've just been playing Dr. Mario on my phone. Has been the only game I've been playing, but they just discontinued it mid-November. They got rid of it. I didn't even know
Oh.
they did that with cell phone games.
That's sad. I'm still playing Far Cry 6, and Sean, let me tell you why. So 2 nights ago, I play with my good friend JL, who's also
What is Far Cry? Give me a little.
All right.
Just expand
So-
just briefly.
Yep. So you go to a place. In this one, it's an island. They give you missions, but it's basically just a big sandbox. You can go do whatever you want, or you could do the missions. You have weapons. There's animals. There's lots of people in the game. It doesn't feel isolated. So here's what happens. So I'm just walking along, and we've played hours. This game progressed nothing. It's just utter chaos. And so I'm walking along. I see a guy, and I'm like, "Oh, there's my friend. Hey, how's it going?" And then 3 wild boar run up on him, and then he's like, "Oh no, wild boars." And he gets out an AK-47. He's shooting at these boars and they all die. And then in the process, he backs into the street and he's killed by a fruit truck. And it's just like, that's not part of the story. That just happened in the world. And I happened to see it. And I was just like, this is the best game of all time. What a gift. Yeah.
It's another thing. I think about that. I was going to get Tony Hawk, but I'm like, I would be spinning my wheels. I don't have any time
Right.
yet. As soon
Yeah.
as she's a little more self-contained on a
Mhm.
better nap schedule, sleeping more, sure. But can't really. Do board games count?
Absolutely.
So I do heavy into escape rooms. I love escape rooms.
Oh, right.
And so Laura, can you hear me? I just got Laura a new escape room for Christmas, a new board game escape room. The exit rooms. I love them. They're from Cosmos, I think,
Okay.
Cosmos Gaming. But
Yeah.
they're so sick. Anyway, we've done every single one of them.
Whoa.
That's something. If you would have told me
right.
5 years ago, 4 years ago, I guess, if you would have said you're gonna love escape rooms, I would have been like, you're full of shit. I will respect that other people like them, but I bet I would not like them.
Right.
Love them. In person, online, board game, anything, give it to me. I love them. We've
That's-
done like 70.
Whoa. In person?
Online, board games, and in person
Yeah.
combined, it's probably 60, 70.
Have you seen the movies?
I watched one of them. I didn't know the other one was out yet. It's just Escape Room 2, right? It's Escape Room
I don't
and then
remember, I
Escape
don't
Room
remember
2.
the catch line. Yeah.
Still stuck.
It's not bad. It's very fun.
No, I'll watch it, man. I don't.
Yeah.
You're a hard pressed to get me to talk shit about a movie for real.
Right.
Not a lot that I can't sit through.
That's great. That's great. Which takes us to music. Anything you're currently enjoying in the world of music?
Blood Orange, but that was
It doesn't have to be brand new. It's just whatever you're currently listening to. I have something, maybe it'll inspire the conversation. Third Base was a group back in the day that I loved. And MC Search has one of the best stories, I say, in all of hip hop history. And that is when MC Hammer put a hit out on Third Base. Do you know this story?
Man, no.
It is amazing. And it's not my story to tell. So I recommend listeners check out most of MC Search's interviews and podcasts and things. He was on Questlove's podcast and he told it probably the best I've ever heard it. I've heard it multiple times, but basically the gist of it is Hammer had an album called Turn This Mother Out, and Third Base had an album called The Cactus. And MC Hammer said that New York wasn't great with hip hop because they weren't playing artists from Oakland. So
it's funny that which Hammer era was this?
This is the beginning.
Still like the hokey Hammer pants.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of course they're not playing.
Yeah.
Of course they're not playing that. Because he came back with Pumps and a Bump and tried to put like a newer spin on himself. But back then it's like that wasn't rap.
No, he wanted to be a pop artist.
Music. Yeah.
And Third Base is coming from the world of lyricism. And so on their album, they said the Cactus is going to turn Hammer's mother out, referencing his album. Now Hammer took it as they were dissing his mom, and so he put out a $50,000 hit on them with
50 grand.
Yeah, in 1989. And so
I suppose
it's an amazing story where it goes from there. But anyway, I heard this told by MC Search so masterfully that I just dove back in. So I was listening to Third Base, DOS Effects, all the stuff from Yo MTV Raps era. And then I thought when we were going to have this conversation, I was like, I bet Sean knows all of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't know that, but it's funny that you bring it up. My sixth search down is 90s skate shop.
Oh, yeah.
So, and all that is backpack rap. I love listening to old backpack rap, but
yeah,
I like to go down a little rabbit hole where maybe I haven't heard some of it, like old Madism and old Black Sheep and stuff like that.
Oh, so good.
Maybe some of the deeper cuts that I haven't heard. I actually listened to that for the last couple of weeks. And Christmas music.
Oh, sure.
Once Portland 103.3, once it turns to Christmas music, it's like November 15th. I won't switch the station. I'll put in my phone and play music on my phone, but I won't switch the radio station. Just a little principle that I got to stay on Christmas music.
I hear you. I also recently listened to the whole Judgment Night soundtrack.
Oh, dude, it's you know how many people haven't heard about, because I'll tell people, I'm like, yeah, Cypress Hill and Biohazard get together. I forget who gets with who, but
yeah.
Slayer and Ice-T. Again, I could be fucking them up.
The Booyah Tribe.
It's so good.
It's so good.
And I can't remember the movie. I'm sure that we watched it. I'm sure that I did.
Yeah.
But I can't remember it at all. But
I get
remember,
that and Trespass mixed up all the time.
It'd be fun to go revisit
a
movie like Judgment Night. And then you ever watch Murder Was the Case? That movie?
Yeah.
It's fine when you go. I used to think movies like that, like Murder Was the Case, I was like, this is a movie. And now I go back and watch it. I was like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
It's a horrible movie.
You know, Movie Madness has like a little room that you can rent and have a group and watch a film. We should get Nampe and do Judgment Night in there.
Oh, dude. We could do that tonight.
Right?
We did last year for my birthday. Laura rented that and we watched The Great Outdoors. I got to pick any movie and that was the one I picked.
That's so great.
It took a long time because she told me that was my present and I got immediately the gears start turning because I hadn't been to a movie since at that point, since March to October of 2020, whatever that was. And I made lists. It took like 4 days to narrow it down. And I was like, Great Outdoors 1. I had the whole thing I was doing I was like, oh, Great Outdoors is what we're watching. It was sick. And then Nampe and I, speaking of Nampe, we rented a movie theater in Vancouver and watched Mortal Kombat.
I was supposed to be there. He contacted me and I was like, oh, I totally got to go. And then kid stuff. And so I ended up missing it.
We should do it again, man. It's only $200. Not to say $200 isn't a lot of money, but if you...
Yeah, but
if I was going to a movie like on a date before this, I'm
right.
$100 probably after everything's said and done.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm always down.
Okay. Which takes us to television, which is anything where there's episodes. I know a show that you're currently enjoying that I'm currently enjoying, but what are you watching?
So Pen 15 was, almost a perfect show. This year especially was so dramatic. And then Succession. So I watched season 1 with Ian whenever that came out.
Right.
Like, this is amazing. And then I waited until last week. I started season 2 and I finished it in 5 days.
I have 3 episodes left.
Oh, of what? Season 2 or 3?
The newest one, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm on season 3, episode 7 right now. So I have.
Oh yeah.
I'm roughly.
We're close. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good, man. I like how they spoon feed you because I don't know anything about money and how the
Right.
world works
No.
in that. It's like Billions, where they just establish this universe where they're like, all right, first things first, money is not real to these people. So get that out of your head.
Right.
Live in this fantasy world. And it's so fun because everything to me is so low stakes because I'm like, they're going to be rich forever. So who gives a fuck what
Yeah.
happens to them? They're going to be fine.
And I think people think it's a drama, but it's so much a comedy that's dressed as a drama. It's such an interesting show. It's so smartly written. And my goodness, there's Culkin is dropping hilarious lines in so many episodes.
It's like they wrote that, like his life was leading to that role. He's
Yes. Yeah.
perfect for it. And
hmm
I get picky with this stuff because there's things that get on my nerves. Oh, how do I say it? Not to talk shit about Deadpool, but like in Deadpool, there's a lot of this cock knuckle
Right.
garbage human or whatever. And that shit bothers me. It's
Yeah.
funny once.
Yeah.
And then you hear it in 30 things and you're like, you bag of dicks or whatever. And get rid of that. Succession doesn't do any of that shit. That's all brand new
Yep.
insults that you haven't really heard. And then they're said in a different way. And he delivers them. Kieran Culkin specifically delivers them so well. And I love that his name is Romulus.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, what are you doing naming your kid Romulus? Holy buckets.
Yeah, he's going to either run a business or be a dope MC with that name.
Yeah, Laura was telling me that the guy that plays Kendall, there was an article she read where it seems like everyone in the show gets it, but that dude treats it like it's Hamlet still, where he doesn't quite get that it's a comedy.
Right.
I'm thrilled about it because he kills his role.
Jeremy Strong, I think is
Is that his name?
I think so. I could have it wrong. I think he's so good. I imagine it's got to be difficult to be an actor and be the worst part of something because he's just so evil and terrible. But like to play it so well, I just think that's really admirable.
Yeah, I do too. That's the whole thing. Acting. It's
Yeah.
like the kid that played Joffrey. It's like he's not that. He's
Yes.
just great at that character. And with Succession too, it's fun to think about that world because again, I know it's high stakes. I know problems are problems, rich, poor, whatever. Your problems are your problem, and it's all perspective. But from us, from a normal perspective, money is like the driving factor in
Right.
stress for me, anyways.
Sure.
So if I take that out of the equation, I'm like, yeah, well, I guess the rest of life would just be a game, and that's why they can do it so well like that because ultimately they don't have to worry about anything.
Right.
It's just personal problems and personal beef and
Mhm.
ego, which makes for great TV.
That's so true. Which brings us to movies. Anything you're currently watching? Anything you've recently seen?
I was just watching No Country for Old Men. I haven't seen it in a while, man. Ooh, it is so good.
Yeah.
God damn, it's good. But as far as new, I haven't been to the theater in forever.
Same.
I'm trying to think. I guess Fast 9 might have been the newest new movie I've seen. I just been going through Christmas movies: Scrooged, Elf, National Lampoons,
Nice.
Family Stone, anything Christmas, I'll watch it. But technically, 20 minutes ago, I was watching No Country for Old Men.
My last in the theater was what's that horror movie where you're not supposed to make sound?
Oh, A Quiet Place?
The sequel. Nan Peg hit me up and was like, "We're seeing it in a
Too.
theater. We rented," and I was like, "All right, let's go." And I don't even love those movies. I just hadn't seen Nan Pei in forever, so I was like, "Let's go."
Yeah, I just want to go to the theater, man. That's like I was
That's
saying, we
it.
rented Mortal Kombat, which I definitely would have wanted to see in the theater. Don't
Yeah.
twist it. But I really just wanted the experience. The thing about going to the movies, the movie is probably 5th on the list of
Right.
what I like about going to the movies. And I like hanging out before and after the movie
Yeah.
more than the movie.
Mhm.
I like the previews more than the movie.
Yep,
9
same.
out of 10 times because
Yes.
and that's the ritual, the parking, the planning, the figuring it out, the going early. And now that I live in Portland, that wasn't something really you could do in Sioux Falls, was like going to a theater where you can have drinks like the Baghdad or something. Fuck, it's the best. So the movie, yeah, almost anything. I'd be like, sure, I'll go. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's sad. That's like what I feel almost stupid saying it, but that's one of the things that I miss the most out of all this, the whole quarantine. I miss it more than going back home to visit. I miss going to the movies
Mhm.
so much.
Yeah, agreed. I don't make it to the movies that often. A holiday movie I recently watched, my wife and I are watching like all the Lifetime, all the Hallmark movies.
Oh
And
yeah.
we watched Mistletoe Mix Up, which
Mhm.
features Joey Lawrence, Matthew Lawrence, Andrew Lawrence, and Donna Lawrence.
Donna is the sister?
It's a grandma.
Donna Lawrence?
Yeah.
Really? And
Yeah.
she's their grandmother.
Yeah. And it's
So she's
directed.
been around for Joey's whole ride.
Yes.
Oh, that's tight.
She saw There's Nothing Love Can't Fix. It's directed by, I think, Andrew Lawrence. And
Wait, another Lawrence directed it?
no, the youngest one, I think, directed it.
He was in it too?
He's also in it. He's in, I think, everything he directs. Smart move.
Did you just reference the song that Joey Lawrence
Yeah,
has? Nothing my love can't fix for you,
Yes.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I showed my wife that because she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, you're about to find out because
Yeah, man.
you got to see this.
It was catchy.
Yeah. He's so shirtless or sleeveless in every shot.
Sure is.
It's a marvel. It's something to behold. So I recommend that. And then I recently got all the Blu-rays for Nemesis, which is direct-to-video sci-fi action film directed by Albert Pune from the 90s, I want to say. It's a wild romp with a detective hunting cyborgs who's part cyborg himself, very Blade Runner-y. And then it descends as it goes on. There's 4 films into just female bodybuilders in science fiction action movies. It's wild. So
Pretty tight.
yeah. So I watched all of that by myself. Yeah.
Fun.
Which brings us to our late return. And we're going to talk about Shogun Assassin from 1980. Was this a first time watch for you?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much have watched it by listening to Wu-Tang my whole life, which I didn't know.
So excited.
I think it's Liquid Swords, but like
Yes!
all the kids
Opening
stuff
track.
from the opening is on Liquid Swords. And I was just like, oh, I knew it was from something, obviously. I just didn't know that was it. And that was it. And I don't want you to talk about, but I have some stuff I want to say about it for sure.
Absolutely. I just wanted to get some stuff out of the way, that more heady conversations about the movie that people always have to bring up. And that's that Shogun Assassin is the first 2 Lone Wolf and Cub movies edited together. There's about 11 minutes from the first film and about 70 from Baby Cart at the River Styx, which is the second movie. It's directed by Robert Houston, who was an Andy Warhol protege. It's his first film. One of the biggest differences is the Shogun that we see in Shogun Assassin is actually never seen in the movie. The original series, the 6 films, Lone Wolf and Cub.
The Shogun is like the Shang Tsung looking dude that looks really gnarly, and we just see his face most of the time.
Yeah, it's actually Ratsudo who's the head of the Shadow Clan. The other films are Baby Cart to Hades, Baby Cart in Peril, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons, and White Heaven and Hell. All 6 of those films were shot between 72 and 74. And the films are based on a manga which ran from 1970 to 76.
White Heaven and Hell sounds like a Chet Hanks rap album.
Yes.
Like he's just cooking on it.
That's excellent. Yeah, so Sean, thoughts?
I haven't seen a lot of movies like that, and I want to be more, in theory, I want to be that guy who's Christian Slater in True Romance, where it's like, let's go see this movie at this theater that you wouldn't even know about.
Right.
But I'm going to take you because I'm charming and hot. And I've always wanted to see more of those movies. So I was really excited to watch it. And it was real easy. It wasn't hard to follow or anything.
No.
Just very linear. Again, all the dialogue from all the old hip hop albums is sick. And it reminded me so much of Shinobi, because Shinobi was one of my favorite video games ever. And I was watching and I was like, man, there's people out of Shinobi in this game. It's, I don't know, it's just fun. Also, I loved how they run at each other when they're about to fight.
Oh my God, yeah.
To go back to Shinobi, that's one of your favorite games?
Absolutely.
Dude, Joey had Shinobi. So I beat Shinobi on Sega, but I've never beat it in the arcade. And it is, I don't know, it's going to bother me forever. They have a stand-up arcade version of Shinobi in an arcade in Sioux Falls. Every time I'm home, we go play it. And if you make it to the stage, I think it's 5, you can't continue in that stage, you know, that old rigmarole.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you die, you go back to the beginning. And I just fucking have never done it. And
I couldn't do it either. We had it in a nickel arcade. It was at Wonderland in Eugene.
Oh man, really? It's not there anymore?
No, it's gone.
I'd go to Eugene just for that.
Street. I sunk so many nickels in there. I just stayed there. That and Rampage was right by it. So I just bounced back between the two. Like, it was great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The movie reminded me of that immediately. I was just super excited about that. Just, I like the fights, all the fight scenes. It's always fun watching people use a low budget to still get the point. One of my favorite scenes was when he either threw the sword or stabbed into the wall. And then the shot of the sword just going down. And you're like, what a fun way to stretch a dime, because they're making you think about what's going on the other side. And it's stuck in a person, obviously. That shit. I love that shit.
For anyone listening that hasn't seen it, first of all, go watch it. And if you haven't, it's about a father and a son and a wife. This film, Shogun Assassin, the Shogun puts out a hit on this family because he was the executioner for the Shogun, and the Shogun thinks he's gotten too powerful. So it goes wrong. They kill his wife, and then he and his son basically go on a road to vengeance, or a road to hell, as they say. It's got an incredible synth score that I absolutely love. which was made by Mark Lindsay, who's the vocalist of Paul Revere and the Raiders.
You're right. It is really good.
It's so good. And it's
Yeah.
so video game, like we're talking about. This is 1980, so it's before those video games existed. And I feel like it's got to be the template of people just being like, this is super cool.
Sure.
We should make this into a video game.
Again, I was thinking about Shinobi, but even with the music, it sounds so similar now that you mentioned that.
Yeah. And the movie, the way it's structured is so interesting because they were cutting two movies together, which originally the plot of those two films is nothing like what this is. They basically reorganized it to be like, okay, so the Shogun puts a hit on this, and then he's just on a road to vengeance, and all these cool ass assassins are going to try to kill him, and they're going to kill him all. And it's just like, it's paced so perfectly. It's dropped at the end of Kill Bill 2. Shogun Assassin is in there. It's just,
What? Say that again. What do you mean?
Yeah, at the end of Kill Bill 2, it's part of I think it's the bedtime story. I only saw it once in the theater, but it's referenced in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sick.
It's also, people think that all the blood spraying in Kill Bill, because it's so like excessive, is a direct reference to the Lone Wolf and Cub series and Shogun Assassin more directly.
Seems like that makes a ton of sense.
Right?
For sure.
Especially for a cinephile like Quentin Tarantino to be like, yeah, I'm going to reference this thing with Ogami and Daigoro. In my dad's video stores where I saw this as a kid, and it was the cover of like him pushing the cart and the kid in there, and there's blades coming out of the cart. He's got a sword over his head. There's not a more badass image I think I've ever seen. And I was like, oh, I'm watching this. And I probably saw it. I mean, I was really young. And it was just like, this is it. And I would show this till sleepovers when kids would talk about like, I like Rambo. I'd be like, watch this. And then I would bring that home and show them.
How did it go over? Did kids sit through it? Seems like it's a tough sell. No? Yeah.
No, it's a brisk 90-minute film, and it's just constant carnage. And so especially when you're a kid, somebody with a sword runs up and cuts someone's arm off, you're like, whoa, and then like splits a head open, and all the lines are so perfectly quotable. And also the dialogue that we hear in this movie is not the dialogue they're actually saying, because they reorganized the plot of everything. But it's, I mean, that's why I think RZA and everyone was sampling it, because it's just everything they say is so cool.
It does make it easier to follow, where they're like, just the meat. We're going to make the dialogue ours. Let's just make it all they need to say. No filler.
Yeah. When I first got a sampler and I was into like electronic music, I sampled so much of this movie. Just the sword sound effects are cool. I mean, the dialogue, you are marked for death. Wherever you go, you cannot escape the Shogun. And then the title card. I was like, this is amazing. And I get that there are people that don't like this movie because they love the original Lone Wolf and Cub, which is great, but I think they can coexist. I think it's such a different beast, an altered beast, some might say.
Anything can coexist if people would just chill.
Yeah.
There's plenty of room in the world for everything that people want to create. We should never stifle creativity. Let people do it. It's only going to be healthy.
Yes, I totally agree. And as a dad, a recent father, if you will, I just was so excited to talk about this movie with you, because he puts a sword and the ball down and he's like, you choose the sword, you choose the path with me to vengeance, you choose the ball and you join your mom. Like, he's going to kill his own kid.
That's what I did with Max. I put a skateboard down and some rollerblades, and I was like, you fucking.
Yes. I was going to ask, what's the choice? But that's it.
Better pick that skateboard, or those rollerblades can be a lot of dinners outside for you, Max.
I tried to imagine what you were going to say, and rollerblades because of the sword is the best answer I never would have come to. That is hilarious. Oh, perfect. I love all the shots in this film, like when he beheads Coronado, and it's just him standing with his back to the person he's beheaded, and you just see the silhouette with the blood just spraying into the wind. It's just like
a lot of good.
So iconic to me.
I like the three brothers too. The gnarly three brothers.
The Masters of Death.
He murked him pretty quick in the end, honestly. As I was paying attention, I was like, there's only the minutes left. There's a couple minutes left. Normally now that would be the pinnacle, the 20-minute scene where you would think the hero is going to lose. But no, he just fucked him up immediately. Sorry to wreck it for anybody who's, it was sick.
That's okay. The Masters of Death. First of all, you call them Masters of Death. Second of all, a dude has a claws on his hand. One guy has nail fists, and one has a club. I was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like when I was a kid, and anytime I revisit. I bought this a couple times in the last couple of years because it's hard to get official releases of it. And every single time I was like, well, let's just see if this disc works. I watched the whole movie. I couldn't turn it off. The synth score started and I was like, oh, dope. Okay, I'm going to see Masters of Death. This is going to be great.
It is hard to watch. You can't rent it.
No.
I tried on any platform I could find, and you can't do it.
Yeah, it's a real bummer. I love the sequence too, where the lady, I just forgot her name. She's not the Masters of Death, but anyway, she's like the lead female assassin. She's the first gig for Sandra Bernhard. She does the voice for her.
Weird. That's
Isn't that
Sandra Bernhard's voice?
isn't that crazy?
No. Yeah, that is crazy.
It's so bizarre. She's like the only American name that I think went on to have a career. But they hack a dude to pieces. They cut his nose off and his legs and arms. He's just like a stump at the end. It's like, whoa, okay, this is crazy. There's a part where they hide knives and daikon radishes and throw them at Ogami and Daigoro.
Gotta respect it. Gotta respect it.
It's so insane. And the pace of the film, I just love. It just keeps going. It slows down for like a second, but the score is super great. And it's just that constant pulsating electronic thing that just wasn't a thing at the time, and the fact that it came from a dude from Paul Revere and the Raiders just blows my mind.
Yes. What were their song like?
I went and listened to it. I just never listened to.
Was that Paul Revere and the Raiders?
I have no idea. I checked out some of their stuff and was like, yeah, this is not for me. I don't know where this dude came from with this thing, but
I was trying to think, and it just popped into my head why that name. I mean, I know. Obviously, I've heard the name, but they reference it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's where I've heard it recently.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Yeah, it's very much a thing. I had a friend's dad who was very into them, and he certainly played it when we were kids, but it just didn't track with me. It was like hearing something alien where I was just like, yeah, no, that's not.
It's weird when someone's super into a very famous band. I don't know. There's certain bands where you're like, really? You're that into Aerosmith? You know, like if someone's, dude, I love Aerosmith, and you're like, yeah, well, I mean, everybody loves Aerosmith, but you love Aerosmith? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but like Aerosmith, U2, bands that. Seems like there was a lot of them back in the day.
So
people, you're just like, I mean, yeah, I know the music, but I'm not that into them.
That was the weirdest thing in high school, where people are like trying on different identities, and you get like the classic rock guy, and you'd be like, wait, what? Bill decided to be a snowboarder and you're going Eric Clapton? Like, what is this?
We had a lot of Dave Matthews fish heads in our high school where they were like, we're following Dave. People would just go on tour and follow Dave Matthews around. So, I mean, whatever. It could be worse things, but that was a big identity in our high school.
Oh, yeah. I remember one guy got super into the Grateful Dead all of a sudden, and was very into tie-dye and Tivas. I was just like, that's a specific thing. I don't know how that's going to translate, considering alternative rock was super big at the time. I was like, all right, well, you'll find someone, I guess. The last thing I wanted to say about Shogun Assassin, other than I've easily watched this 100 times. I know that that's like a cliche thing people say, but I've definitely clocked major hours. Like, I know all the dialogue. It's ridiculous. But the very end, he slices a guy's throat with his sword.
Sure does.
And the guy rolls down a hill for a second, and he says, your technique is magnificent. When cut across the neck, a sound of wailing winds is heard, they say. I always wanted to cut someone that way to hear that sound, but to have it happen to my own neck is ridiculous. And the part that he says it's ridiculous
is ridiculous.
It has entertained me since I was a child. Like, it's so funny to me. Ridiculous.
It would be to be that appreciative in death, in your own death, to be like, this is pretty ridiculous.
Self-aware. Hey guys, this is ridiculous, this whole thing.
There was a part where a dude it might be that same guy, he gets stabbed and he rolls down the dune, but the sword's still sticking out like 2 feet.
Yeah,
and I was like, what's gonna happen when he rolls onto the sword? Is he gonna stop, or is it, and he just rolls over it, and his body goes up like 2 feet? Yes. And you're like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, and there's just so many great moments when they're just walking along those sand dunes, and then Daigoro's standing there and he just points to his dad, who's just standing on a different dune just waiting to kill them all. It's like, oh, it's so cool. He's like, oh, that's the guy that's gonna kill everybody just right now. And the fact that the movie just ends, it doesn't show him kill the Shogun. He kills the Shogun's brother, and then they're just like, all right, that's the end of the movie. And you're like, oh, okay, well, all right.
It does end. It just straight up ends.
Yeah. Any final thoughts for Shogun Assassin?
I loved it. I'm going to watch it again because I watched it kind of with Max, kind of not.
Sure.
I watched it in 2 parts. My buddy just gave me some Japanese whiskey.
Oh.
Big bottle of Japanese whiskey. And he has Japanese in the lineage. So I'm just excited to maybe sit, have a glass of that, watch that movie and be like, yeah, this is what they were talking about. This is how I should watch it. Put the lights out. We just got a brand new TV that I haven't really sat down and had private time for a movie where you're just like, I know this is going to be uninterrupted for 2 hours. So I'm going to watch it again when that can happen.
I've got the PS5 and I got these noise canceling surround sound headphone things. I don't even know what all the buzzwords are, right? I'm not a techie guy, but it sounds great. And sitting about 2 feet from the TV with those on. It's just me in a room. That's pretty amazing having that time. So I look forward to enjoying Shogun Assassin. The whole idea when I thought of you for this was nothing more than, well, he's a dad. And this is,
Yeah,
for
just had a
me,
kid, man.
this is a dad movie. He's like,
Puts a new stamp on it where you think about you're a little bit more on point
mhm,
and you feel a little tougher is the wrong word, but I've definitely been in situations where I'm like, something crazy went down. Wouldn't even think about doing
right.
anything you had to do to protect your kid, which people to get real serious here. People throw around they would die for this or that or
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
And when you have a kid, you're like, even if you don't want to, you would because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't
Right.
do everything I could to protect the kid. So it does put you into that mindset where you're like, yeah, I would do it's all for her.
Yeah.
Everything is for her
Yeah.
for the rest of my life. And then it's fine. That's what you sign up for.
Oh, that's one last thing I wanted to say then. The scene where the lady and one of the assassins have taken Daigoro and suspended him over a well.
Yeah.
And he walks out and he's like, you could kill the kid, but you're all going to die. We already made peace with this stuff. And then the kid drops his shoe into the well, which is like telling the dad how long he has to kill these dudes, how
Okay.
deep the well is. It's so subtle, not explained at all. And I didn't get it my first probably 99 views until now watching it. And I'm like, oh, that's so smart.
Yeah. Kid, just
Oh,
let him know. Here you go, Dad.
yeah, this is how much time you got before I drown. And then he just dispatches everyone. Love it to death. Last question about parenting. How's the crying going? Because you're an emotive fellow like myself. And I got to tell you, for me personally, once I had a kid, it just opened up even more.
Yeah, sure. There's now different things will make me cry in a different way.
Yeah.
I was watching The Family Stone the other day, and Diane Keaton has breast cancer, and it's all known that she's going to die. And I'm just like, man, now the thought of a kid
Yeah.
being without a parent makes me cry, and having to like, it's not, if I make it to a ripe old age and I see her as an adult and da da da, I don't think I'll be that upset that I'm going, but I'll be like, fuck, you got to deal with your parent dying, which
Right.
is going to suck. So it's a different spin on things. And my fear of adjacent to that, but my fear of flying has now shifted from me dying in a plane crash
Right.
to me dying in a plane crash. And now Laura's a single mother and Max doesn't have a dad. And that's the crazy thing where you're just
Yeah.
like, I have never felt fear like that before. It just makes you feel more vulnerable. And so, yeah, when I'm feeling more vulnerable and emotional, your boy's going to be crying much more.
Whew. It's just such an emotional ride, I think, having a kid. And for me, a daughter, it's such a special thing, being present, being aware. You know, moms do so much. And so I decided very early on, I was like, what can I do? And something simple like just brushing hair, taking time to brush hair. Moms, they got a million things to do. So she's like doing it faster. And my daughter's like, ah. And so I just like would go slower because it pulled less. She then decided like, oh, this is the thing my dad does. And so now she'll come in before school every day and be like, here's the brush, here's the detangler, and I'll brush her hair. And it's not going to be forever, but for a brief minute of time, that's our connection. That's what we get to do. I absolutely love it.
Hell yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, but it's like as dads, you're choosing to be present in Max's life. And so it's like you get to do that. They will completely openly love you, but you get to choose what are you going to. I made my daughter's lunches. So in the middle of the day, she might just think about her dad for 1 second. That's for me. But it's like, those are the
That's
things
the best.
we get to do. And it's such a special thing. So we might not get to dispatch several hundred ninjas in defense of our child, but
Not yet.
not yet. But there are
Yeah.
things that we get to do. And I'm glad that you could take time for this conversation so we could talk about dad stuff.
Please. I'm stoked. I'm sorry it took months. Shit gets away from you so quick.
I mean, it's
hilarious.
all good things. You just got back on the road with Kyle, right? Kyle Kinane.
It was fun, man. I've been out in a couple years. So it was
Yeah.
great to go do boom, 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 do a bunch of shows in a row, sharpen the knife a little bit, realize that you forget, or I forgot about doing stand-up and how fun it was and that I'm good at it and all these things. So it's
Yeah.
nice to be reminded that you're in this for a reason and you chose the right path. And I'm happy to keep going. I'm excited to do more stuff now that things are opening back up.
Yes, definitely. Well, Sean, I don't want to take any more of your time as you do have a career and a family, but thank you so much for your time. Thanks for watching Shogun Assassin, and thanks for just bringing joy to people. You make so many people happy. You inspire people to be more positive just through all fantasy, everything, just amplifying what you do and your friendship that you put on display, how much you care about your buddies. It's just all beautiful stuff. So thank you so much.
My God, thank you. I'm glad that we can all put positive, beautiful stuff into the world. Ain't nobody stopping. Ain't no time soon.
That's right. Sean S. Jordan on Twitter. You can find us at VHUS_podcast. Please like, subscribe, anything you appreciate. Just let people know because we all just enjoy media and no one knows that anyone hears anything these days unless you do those, click those buttons. Till next time, I'm Dirk Marshall and this is VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns.